Welcome to Sober.Coffee, a weekly coffee chat sharing experience, strength, and hope for anyone on the sober road to recovery. You can download Sober.Coffee weekly on all podcast platforms and check us out on Instagram at Sober.Coffee Podcast and on Twitter at Sober.Coffee Pod. To learn more about us and to help support these sessions, visit online at Sober.Coffee. Here are your hosts, two guys on their own path to recovery, Mike and Glenn. Let's join them at the coffee shop.
Looking pretty good today there, Glenn.
I am?
Yeah.
Because I don't have any gel in my hair?
No, you work out and stuff. I aspire to be you one day.
I work out
I think
with
I'll have a muffin. Go ahead.
reps.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm having a muffin.
I do 12 muffin reps.
Oh, look at the chocolate one. How does healthy muffin and chocolate end up in the same sentence?
Well, that chocolate has icing on it, too.
Yeah,
but I'm sure that's got some dairy in it somewhere. Something's good, right?
Yeah.
So what's going on, my brother?
Hey, not too much. Been busy with Sober.Coffee stuff, busy with program stuff. It's good, It's just good to be walking the sober. You know what? I'm so excited. We had a scheduled guest that was going to come in and join us for a table of three, and she couldn't make it. But she's a younger gal. Like, we're a couple old farts, right? And
well, you are.
Well, okay, one of us is. And
I'm just old. I'm not a fart.
She's like, I don't know, in her low to mid 20s, and this normalization of sobriety is a movement. I mean, people are getting it. Probably not at the degree I'd like them to, but people are getting that alcohol is not needed in order to fulfill your life. It's just not needed.
I know there's so many times I see that. I see a 28-year-old, right, living the steps.
Yeah, right.
And I'm like, God, man, if I had
I'd conquer the world.
If I had only. But you know what? I have today, and that's what I'm focused on. But, yeah, it's cool engaging with listeners, with our family. In fact, I just noticed with the numbers, I noticed our U.S. presence has dropped significantly. I think we're down to 86% in the U.S., and we're having a rise in Singapore. We're having a rise. Yeah, we're having. I mean, we have probably 8% listeners from the U.K.
Love the U.K.
Yep. So I was just there.
Yeah, my wife is heading over next week. Yeah.
I was just there. Well, I was in Ireland. Is that part of the U.K. or part of Europe? I don't know. But I was there and love folks, man. So maybe we should go on tour someday and do a live session from the UK and connect, because we have Quentin from the UK, right?
Yeah, we can go with Quint. Quint will host us, I'm sure.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. We should do a live session in the UK. That'd be awesome.
That reminds me. We have so many good episodes that I re-listen to.
We think they're good.
Yeah, we think are good because I re-listen to them to write blogs about them, right? And,
do you? Is that why we have all the listens?
Yeah, right? No, they don't. It doesn't count when the call comes from within the house.
Oh, okay.
Mine aren't counted. Cool. But, go back. I mean, if you got time, we're binge-worthy, man. Right?
I say that. In fact, we have posted
that
once in a while. I mean, it's like Lay's potato chips. It's hard to listen to just one.
That's right.
And that's one of the reasons why it's 18 minutes, right? We're not like a Joe Rogan 3.5 hour session.
By the way, we haven't done an 18-minute session in...
I think our first one was 18 minutes.
That's because our engineer cut us off.
We just did our last one that was 18 minutes. There was a commercial, 18-minute commercial. So, all right, man, what's the topic today? I know what the topic is, and I'm really excited about it. It's a rather out there, unique topic. And our engineer, our barista Brian, is actually looking forward to it because he's like,
well, he thought the 13th Step was a Tool song, and it's album by the Perfect Circle. That's
what we were thinking about. That's what we were thinking about.
So
Brian.
13th Step, I had no idea what that was. I figured that was some kind of advanced, sobriety
PhD level
activity. Yeah, maybe it is, maybe it isn't. We're going to explore that a little bit today and figure it out. What the heck is a 13th Step, man?
All right, so just set the framework. In the program of Alcoholics Anonymous, as outlined back in the 30s, there are 12 steps, right? Mm-hmm. We've talked about the 12 steps.
Oh, ad
nauseum, right? I mean, we just explored experience, strength, and hope. We've had guests all focused on 12 steps. Nobody has mentioned or talked about the 13th step.
Okay, why?
So that's like the secret door of the program, right? Maybe. I don't know. Mm-hmm. So how would you define the 13th step?
Well, from what I understand, that's funny. I just took a bite of a muffin. You saw I took a bite of muffin.
I know I did. That was
And
awesome.
then you asked me a question. It's like my dentist. She's got the tool in my mouth, and she's like,
All right,
"Tell
do
me
you
about
want me to
your
jump
vacation."
in,
Yes.
Mr. Wait, did you eat the chocolate one? Or
No, I just eat the toppings, just like on
Did you eat
Seinfeld.
the topping of the chocolate one? Oh, you haven't touched that. Okay. Okay, so let's go to, I went to Dr. Google, and they pointed me to recovery.org.
Really?
Right? So as soon as you hear .org, right, it's like, oh, let's get serious.
Okay.
Right? Because
Yeah,
it's like
right,
official.
sure. Right.
Right, so recovery.org calls the 13th step, defines the 13th step when an experienced member of AA pursues a relationship with a newer member of AA.
Okay.
That's per recovery.org. But I think that I adopt that definition, right?
Okay. All right.
So,
There's so much there. There's so much I don't like about that.
we'll launch it.
Okay.
What do you not like? Wait, do you think the definition's wrong?
No. I'm going to go ahead and we'll use it because I always thought a 13th step could be to veteran people, right? So let's say you got two people, they've been in the program for 13, 15 years, and they begin to pursue a relationship with somebody else who's been in the program for 13, 15 years.
Okay, so
I thought
you
that was,
have a little bit of pushback
Yes.
on the older versus newer.
and I'm not talking about age, I'm talking about terms of sobriety.
Right.
Yes.
So what you're saying
Big pushback.
is any relationship, and let's just say it's not relationship. I mean, there's a lot of brotherhood, sisterhood. It's sexual.
That's right. Yeah.
Any sexual relationship,
I think it's wrong.
let's just call it duck a duck.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
use the S word, right? Sexual.
Yeah.
Right? This definition says an older member versus newer member, and you're saying
I got problem with
any
that.
members.
Yeah, I'm saying that I'm okay. I'm a little more okay with the two people with 15 years of sobriety making an adult decision and a sober decision to have a relationship, yes, sexual or whatever, or not, to have this kind of intimate relationship. I'm saying that you used a couple of words, pursue, right? New. And I'm thinking of, and I'm going to go right to male, female, right? So maybe it happens the other way around. But in my world, it's the male veteran pursuing the female vulnerable. I got a problem with that.
Okay, so this is going to be fun to unpack. So I have seen everything, right?
Mm-hmm.
I have seen an experienced, long-term, sober gentleman when there is a newer, so according to this recovery.org, I've seen this, a newer female, newer member, newer in sobriety, and newer member walk in the room. There is a radar and an alert system that goes off, and it is like a dog in heat. I've seen it. And do you think that is a good, healthy behavior in AA?
Shameful.
Right.
Shameful.
So why is that shameful?
Because we're in a hospital and we've got sick people, and that newcomer, right? That early, they're in the ER, man. They're broken. They are totally dependent. They are totally dependent on us for their healing and well-being.
Right. They're coming in for help.
They're coming in for help. And shame on somebody for having an ulterior motive.
Absolutely
to
right.
helping them.
Shameful. I see it a mile away, and I usually step in. I mean, I don't call it out, but I am a diversion.
Mm-hmm.
I find I'm a smokescreen, and I get involved with those situations. So when you say a hospital, I'm glad you said it, because I frame it a different way. It's like people are fishing from the sick pond.
Yeah, right. There you go. Right.
We say it in rehab. I mean, it happens in rehab situations. People are vulnerable. People are, people are not in their best minds, right? And making their best decisions.
And mind you, I'm not here
and yet people are preying on them.
That's right. And I'm not here to judge. Look, people are also humans. Love happens. I mean, I ended up in love, and just because was my wife in a vulnerable spot? I don't know. Maybe she was because she was coming off another relationship. But I didn't go. I didn't go to a support group to go find somebody who maybe was a little unhealthy.
So there are people I know. In fact, I've heard direct stories from like people that go to essays. Was that sexual?
I don't know. Right.
Sexaholics Anonymous, or that people go there strictly to fish from the sick pond, and that's terrible. But I would like to just add a little asterisk to something that you said. You said men to women. Mm-hmm. I have seen women. In fact, I've seen women come in, and they're all friendly, and I can. I'm on the bleachers watching the game sometimes, right? I'm not in every game, and I'm on the bleacher sheet, and I have a pretty good view of what's happening within some rooms, and I've seen women come in, and they're like, "Oh, I need a ride. Can somebody give me a ride? I need a ride," right? And it's funny because they're very selective on who they want rides from.
Oh, right.
And they,
it's not based on the car, I assume.
No. Well, sometimes, mm-hmm. but it's almost like who can help me, or who do I want to have a relationship with, or, and so I've seen it go both ways.
Mm-hmm.
I have seen it go both ways. It's not just men to women, but I have seen women come in, and then all of a sudden, right, circumstances change. Then all of a sudden, they don't need rides from guys anymore because they're in a relationship.
Right.
It's just crazy what the bleacher sheet can show, but it's not healthy.
No, I can't see a
scenario. It's not genuine. It's not healthy.
But yet, I'm going to also tell you, I've seen it work. I've seen relationships stick long term, at least in my little universe, right? My 5 years of history. I've seen people form a relationship, and they're still rocking it. I'm not saying it doesn't work.
I've seen people get struck by lightning and walk away from it.
Yes, I've seen two people go down. I've seen two people go down.
Yep.
At the same time too.
Well, what happens is people get involved in these relationships, especially in early sobriety, especially these people that prey on people. Right. And I use, the definition says the word pursue. I use the word prey.
Yeah, right. There you go.
Prey on early people in early sobriety because they are vulnerable, and I just look at the people that are doing it. I'm like, dude, you are so weak. If that's the best game that you have, is you have to prey on somebody that is super vulnerable and can't even make the next right decision, and that's how you win, right? We're probably going to piss some people off.
We probably are, but look, I think it's funny when I first came in.
But if that's the level of your game, I think you need to look inside.
When I first came in to Alcoholics Anonymous, I was a Google was around 5 years ago, and I Googled, right, because I wanted to know the good, bad, the ugly. And you know what the ugly was out there? It wasn't that the program didn't work. It wasn't that it was too spiritual. It wasn't that it was that there was a lot of women who had been abused by people that were preying on them. I saw a lot of kickback on that. And don't go to AA meetings because there's just guys there. And that breaks my heart that a lady would not want to come into the program because she feels she's going to be preyed on. That is terrible. You are padlocking the door of the emergency room.
Yeah, I have.
So shame on you. Don't do that.
Yeah, I mean, the way I look at it is the 13th step is character defects in motion. I mean, even if even if you have a general attraction for somebody and it's real and you can relate to that person and you're attracted to them.
And it happens.
Yeah,
My goodness.
that's life.
I'm not saying I'm immune to that.
Especially when you're in a social, emotional situation where people are sharing and you can relate,
I'm not
you can
immune.
empathize, and you're right, we're not immune, but build a wall. Right?
Absolutely.
Because I think I
stay clear. I stay especially clear of that person because of that.
Okay, so let's tear that apart. So to me, that sounds like a wall that you're building around your safe sobriety or your sober zone.
Absolutely.
A boundary.
Yes.
A healthy boundary. So,
and I'm sorry, I'm unselfishly building it for them too.
Well, for the good of both of you.
That's right.
And for the good of AA.
Right.
Because AA does get a bad name because of the 13th step.
Absolutely.
I've seen it. I've heard it.
Right.
I've talked to people about it.
Right.
Right. So let's talk. So, okay. So one last point. Rarely, I got my notes here. I'm circling the word rarely.
Mm-hmm.
Rarely, if ever. But let's use the word rarely.
Mm-hmm.
Does a 13-step relationship work out?
I would agree with that in my experience.
Rarely.
Yes. And it's because we had a guest on recently, and the guest talked about growth. And the program of recovery that is the 12th step has you continually growing in this new, exciting direction. And if you're with somebody, look, it's hard for me to keep up and my wife to keep up when I'm growing in my direction. I have a hard enough time, but the AA community is my community, and then she's got her own community, then we've got our joint community, right? But when you start engaging in relationship where now you're sharing a community, and you're growing at assumed a different pace or going in a different direction, I think it's going to exasperate the fact that you're setting yourself up for failure.
So, I've been close to people that, started to go down this path, and, they use a lot of excuses, right? I mean, they know what they're doing is wrong. They know, but they excuse the hell out of it. Just like I used to do when I was drinking. I used to excuse the hell out of it, So can we draw a baseline and say, hey, that's probably mostly definitely not a good idea?
There are exceptions to every rule, but I would say that's the rule, right?
Right. Okay. So what are some tips to stay away from that?
All starts between the ears. I mean, my radar goes up the minute somebody walks into a room. I mean, I'm like, that's my type or it's not my type. That's just the nature of the beast I am.
You have a type?
I have a type.
Right.
And when the right type walks in, man, I'm on guard. I'm on guard. I might be cordial, but certainly not going to start getting into a conversation.
Awareness.
Yeah.
So it's awareness. So one tip or one rule that I live by to the 99% level, men stick with men.
Yep.
Women stick with women.
Right.
Now, I understand there's all different kinds, right? It may not be man or woman for somebody out there. It might be man and man or woman for woman. I get it, right? Mm-hmm. But I like what you said, having that level of awareness, right? But what I do for my life is in my phone, I got 50, 60 AA brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I have 2 AA sister phone numbers in my phone.
I got about 30.
Okay, I have 2.
Mm-hmm.
And one is I've set boundaries where I don't want relationships with women in AA.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't. I don't want the emotion. And it's not because I'm attracted to them.
Mm-hmm.
They might be attracted to me.
Right.
And
what are the odds?
It's 0. but I'm just saying I might be feeding something that's not good for them.
Yeah, right.
So I have 2 AA women that are on my phone. My wife is very aware of both of them. She knows who they are. She's met them. She knows them. And there is no threat, right? There is no even – it's so far away from the dartboard, it's not even funny.
Right.
But I am still very keenly aware when I text these folks. It's on a very limited basis. It's not personal. I have awareness, right? I have boundaries, and I have awareness of where I'm at with those boundaries, right? So that's one.
Mm-hmm. Love it.
I think those boundaries, I think the objective is to, focus on sobriety.
Yep.
Not focused on sex, right? And I think that's that sex is a character defect. A lot of people don't like to talk about sex, But I did a little research, and there's dangers, right? So I just want to if I can
please, do.
It's Dr. Google. I'm not sure what it came from, but it came from somewhere. But one is people in early recovery are vulnerable.
Right. Yep.
Right. Taking advantage of those people is exploitive.
Exploitive. That's a big word, but yes, totally.
Exploitive.
Yep.
Right. And I think that goes back to, if you're doing that stuff, you have character defects.
Yep.
Right. There's something wrong there. Right.
Moral defects too.
Yeah. To take advantage of weak people, just to satisfy your own gains.
Right.
Number two, new sexual relationships are distracting. So, one thing or one boundary or one guideline or one suggestion or one rule is no new relationships within the first year of sobriety.
That's kind of a standard.
It's an unwritten rule. It's a written rule.
Right.
Whatever. Right. But
it's just not safe.
No, I mean,
it's not healthy.
How can you focus on a new sober way of living if your focus and intentions are somewhere else?
That's right. Yeah.
Right?
You got to keep your eye on the ball.
So that's number two. Number three is it is proven that when there's failures in those relationships, it can lead to relapse.
More aggressively than failure in my non-alcoholic relationship?
Because you don't have the emotional tools to be able to handle that going sideways, so you go back to what works.
Okay, gotcha, okay.
And so you're already on thin ice by preying on people in the 13th step, right? You're already character defects or moral defects going on there, right? And then on top of so you're building on a very weak thin ice.
Right.
And then you fall through.
Right.
You're already on weak ice.
Right.
You're not going to crawl out.
Right.
Right. You're not going to be the mature party and say, "Wow, this relationship didn't. Let me go spend more time with my higher power."
Right.
And right.
Sure.
You're going to be in the crazy zone. Okay. The and the fourth one is, like you said when you went out and Googled, it damages AA as a whole.
Yep. And maybe you don't care about that. I mean, if you're already that far into yourself, then it's all about you, And
that is
so they're not gonna matter. They're not gonna. But just know that you're impacting that young lady's life or middle-aged lady or older lady's life when they go check out AA online. You become a reason they don't get healed. That's terrible. Shame on you.
Right. And you know what? My approach, and I am happy to say, let me preface, I have screwed up in my life. I've had relationships that I shouldn't have had, and I have screwed up in my life, so I am not the golden poster child here. But what I will say is, since coming in AA, I have never even gotten the dartboard of a wrong relationship within AA.
Won't do it.
And I will not do it. I am so, women ask for my phone number, and I shut them down. Mm-hmm. In fact, I'll tell you a story. Last weekend, I had a woman reach out to me, and it was, and dude, I don't know the intention. She reached out to me and asked a question about a meeting, right? And somebody gave her my phone number. She reached out, questioned my meeting, and she said, "Hey, can I talk to you for 5 minutes?" And I'm like, "Sure." And in that 5-minute call, I could tell you know what? And I said, "You know what? I cannot answer your question. My advice is let's hang up. You call your sponsor. I am not supposed to be in this conversation."
Right. You knew it though.
And it had nothing to do with, it was quote unquote a innocent topic. Right. But I'm like, you know what? Why am I on the phone talking to this woman when there's 1,000 women in AA that could be answering this?
Right, yeah.
I'm not doing it. And I told her, I said, I think you should just call your sponsor.
Good.
I'm tied up. I have to get back out on the slopes.
Yeah.
I did.
So that's the real deal.
That's
you
real
weren't
reason.
saving a global brand. You were
but
you were going on the bunny hill.
Yeah, I knew from that awareness.
Yeah, no,
I'm like,
I'm kidding.
why am I on this call?
Right.
This is against my boundaries. I'm getting out of this situation.
Right.
So even though I answered the call and talked to her, for a couple minutes, I'm like, no,
So tough topic, but I'm glad we broached it.
No, I think, it's probably going to offend some people out there, but my input to that is if you're offended,
then you're offended.
Then you got to watch what you're doing.
And if you don't want to listen again, it's been nice knowing you.
Thanks for checking in.
But
you know what?
Check out now.
It's just proven, man. It just doesn't work, and it's not cool to do.
It's not cool to do.
And I have watched some long-term people in AA I'm telling you what, that door opens and that new girl comes in, and it is like, I am Jesus Christ Savior.
Like,
I am
really?
going to save you. Let me tell you all my stuff. Let's go huddle.
Yep.
And it's just not right.
We'll do it.
All right, brother. Hey, I'm glad we're not 13-stepping.
Not today. Not ever.
Amen.
Amen.
I love it, man. I love the boundaries. All right, see you, brother.
Thanks for joining us for today's coffee chat. To contact the show, email us at podcast@Sober.Coffee. If you need immediate help, the AA hotline is 800-839-1686. The National Suicide Prevention Hotline is 800-273-8255. Remember, Mike and Glenn are sharing their own journey on the path to recovery. Any suggestions, medical or otherwise, are their own experiences and should not be viewed as professional advice. See you next week, and remember, there is a solution.